Alright, I am back with my first Helldivers 2 video. Got a lot of people saying, Ball, why the hell are you still talking about Suicide Squad when Helldivers 2 is here and is awesome, and at least a couple people were curious as to my thoughts about it. So, it absolutely deserves some attention because it is currently blowing up over the past week or so. It just crossed 200,000 concurrent players, which is almost triple what Sony's last PC release did, which was God of War. God of War was like 4 years after, 3.5 years after the original God of War came out on PlayStation. So it's a little different. However, this is Helldivers. Like, this is hardly, a mega Sony franchise. This game has been worked on for a very long time by a relatively small team, but it has come out and everybody loves it. So I understand why everybody loves it. It is very awesome in many different ways. I will say up front here that I am citing Arrowhead's own statement here that a game for everyone is a game for no one. This is not a game for everyone. This is a game that is really, really best played online with friends. And when you have a lot of time to do sort of lengthy online sessions with friends. So this doesn't exactly suit my gaming lifestyle, as I am a dad now and I really appreciate games that you can play in shorter instances, solo, that you can pause. I may not be putting as much time into this as all the other people that are wild about it, even if I do recognize that it's really cool in a lot of ways. So I played a little bit solo, which is obviously not the way to play. I played a little bit with friends, and there's streamer folks that are offering to play with me, which is great. It's just a matter of kind of finding time. But, I've experienced a lot of it, and I've been watching a lot of streams, which, people are getting these high levels. First of all, it's very funny. It's a very funny game, which I didn't really realize was the case just kind of heading into it, because it looks really like grim and gritty and like Outriders, essentially. It's these dudes in armor wearing capes and stuff fighting bugs, but like then you get in and it's like very funny, right? When you start immediately, you get the battlefield injury simulator that just pokes you, and it's full of Starship Troopers humor. This game is Starship Troopers. It's very unapologetic about that, like from the patriotism to the bug hunts, and it is very much Starship Troopers, which itself was a tongue-in-cheek kind of sci-fi comedy. That's awesome. I don't think it's a ripoff. I just think it's a very clear homage to that series, and I think it totally works. Some people have described this game as like, a janky PS3 era game that is still good. I don't even know if I would call it janky. That's not really been my experience. I think a lot of it is actually like kind of smooth, and like there's bugs and stuff. No pun intended. But the shooting feels really good. The sound design here is good. The music is good. The visuals. Hello, Evie. The visuals when you're doing some of the more explosive things like orbital call downs, nukes, these huge kind of explosions in the wake of in the background of these kind of really cool environments that are increasingly changing when you go to different locations. I don't really view it as janky. Like, I guess combat might be a little bit, but that's just sort of like the point in a lot of ways. I really enjoy the stuff that the game does to just like screw you over, like in kind of like, or just not screw you over, but like just make it harder and more difficult in a specific way. Like, I call this game like the oh shit genre, where you're just constantly like getting in over your head, you or your squad, and the game does not make it easy to get out of that. Like, you have to manually hit reload, I think, unless there's some way around that, every time your mag's empty. If you reload when your mag is partially full, as we've all been conditioned to, you lose that ammo. And then of course the stratagem call downs require this like input button combination, which you often have to do on the fly as you're being chased by some sort of enemy, or defending a point as enemies are approaching. And that's kind of screwing with your mind about you're panicked because all these enemies are coming at you, and you got to input the code right, and then you got to get it off, and you throw it and the thing bounces in a place you don't want it to bounce. Sometimes this can be very bad if it's something like inaccessible or totally misses. Sometimes it can be very funny, like if you're trying to just call down a machine gun and it plows through a boss in the head, and you win by doing that. Very, very funny. I also really like the way the kind of overall system conquering, thing goes, where you and every other Helldivers player are clearing out sections of the map. Everyone is sort of contributing to the grand total based on the missions you're running, and that expands, into different areas and different planets and different kind of scenarios, the longer this goes. I don't really like a lot of community-based events. Like Destiny does this where it's like, if you get 1,000,000 sword kills, we're going to unlock this emblem. But it's just sort of like, you can just sit back and it'll get done. And like, even if they're cheating and just filling it automatically, like it's going to get done. I don't really find those terribly compelling. This feels different. Like, even if it's the same thing, even if I personally don't have to do anything, it does feel fun to kind of everyone's going to this system or this planet to try and contribute to, quote, completing it and moving on to the next one. And then now in the past day or so, the new, frontier as it is one of them is Robot Vietnam, where it's like a jungle planet full of robots. And that's exactly what it feels like. It's these like frenetic fights in the jungle where you're like, the orbital strikes and stuff are essentially like napalming things in the jungle. It is Robot Vietnam. It very much feels like it. And that's an interesting aspect of this game, where as it continues to evolve, it's placing you in these new situations that you've never seen before. There's something called Machine World that people said is cool. I don't know what that is. Like, you can fill me in on that. But I think the idea is that you just keep finding these new places that were not even advertised like ahead of time. Like, I think they kept a lot of stuff under wraps, and there's a lot of stuff still to go. Like, we have all these different sectors to clear, and who knows what we're going to find here. And I like that aspect of like sort of mystery, and I think all of these elements combine together to make a really compelling game that is unlike almost anything out there. There's no PvP in this. It's just, working together as a squad. It's funny not just in terms of the Starship Trooper stuff. It's funny in the sense that you can set up, or accidentally run into all these different scenarios where there's friendly fire, you can nuke your teammates, or you're the last one surviving out of all your dead teammates and you need to extract and you're getting overrun by bugs. And like, there's a lot of very funny situations that can occur with this game, which I think this is why this is a big streaming game. It's very funny to watch, your favorite streamers and their, friends get in on this. It's very fun with your own friends where you can just goof around. Again, the encounters being like 40 minutes of live play where you can't pause. And, even if it's a little tough for my schedule, it's also bad in the sense that like people get disconnected, the game crashes, and like there are a lot of technical issues. There was just a patch out this morning that I think fixed some amount of crashing and disconnects. Matchmaking has not been very good. This is supposed to fix that as well. The CEO of the company is like, yeah, matchmaking is bad. Also, I want weapon customization in the game. I really like the CEO. I forget his actual name, Johan something. But he's very vocal and very, online on Twitter answering questions. There's a Discord that's really active. Seems like a really great team. I had not heard of Arrowhead before this, but it in some ways it reminds me of Pal World, where it's this game that should not have been an enormous success out the gate is just blowing up, and I think it's beyond anyone's expectations. The studio, Sony, this is a huge win for Sony. In a time where they very much needed it. As I've talked about before, their live service ambitions have been not great. Bungie is struggling on all fronts. Their big live service purchase, they had to cancel the Uncharted live game. We don't really know the status of many of their other live plans. And then everyone was like, I don't know, keep an eye on Helldivers. And I'm like, fine. And here we are. They have, this has done really well. This has validated their strategy, which I realize is not new. It's something they talked about years ago, which I didn't realize, of releasing their live games same day on PC, which really, really has dramatically expanded their audience. I don't think this game would be getting nearly the same amount of press if it was just on PlayStation. And so we're talking about all these Steam records it's setting. It's a top 10 Steam game. We're not in crazy ass Pal World territory, but this is a very, very solid performance for this game and for Sony slate in general. This also just feels like a game that is going to continue to evolve in interesting ways, both in terms of, what they kind of add to the game over time, like new enemies, new stratagems, new weapons, blah, blah, blah. But also, like I said, exploring the system and getting into these, increasingly wild locations and scenarios and things that we can't even really predict what's to come in a lot of these instances, which I think is very fun. So it's also fun to just sort of follow the saga of this, even if I can't grind it out as much as a lot of people have been doing. So I don't really know like too many negatives to say based on what I've played, what I've seen. The technical issues I think are the worst part. Bugs, and some of the bugs are funny, but crashes and disconnects and bad matchmaking not funny. And I think that's what they're working on the most. But this is a very impressive game and a very impressive launch. So I don't know if I'm going to be making Helldivers strategy things, because like I'm not going to be as deep into this as a lot of other people, but I am certainly going to play when I can, keep an eye on it. And so yeah, those are my impressions. Extremely positive. I think this is great, and I hope everyone's having fun with it. So yeah, back to it. Patriots, go spread that democracy. But thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.